Thanks for listening to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in American soccer. And don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, hello, listeners. Welcome to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast. My name is Steven Jodderand. Joining me, as always, are Aman Kafai and Jake Watroba. Today's episode, what in the footballing world is the Leagues Cup? Are the U-20s giving you hope? And the playoff promotion versus a Champions League final. Now, listeners, make sure you follow us on the Twitter machine at Uncle Sam's Soccer Pod. Hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to the show and give us a 5-star review. We always enjoy your feedbacks and comments, so just send them in. We'll respond when we can. Now, Arman is without Wi-Fi, and in the 21st century, living without Wi-Fi might as well be like living without water. How we doing, Arman? We surviving?
I'd rather be thirsty than I don't have Wi-Fi. I guess you could say at this point.
Hashtag America's problems, right?
I mean, yeah, first world problems, right?
First world problems.
Look, I've been trying to catch up on some FC Dallas stuff, some soccer-based stuff, but without Wi-Fi, I can only catch up on I guess offline NCAA football 14 kind of stuff. So nothing really productive going on this neck of the woods.
Can you access your spreadsheets?
Yeah, on my phone. I can update them on my phone, so that's always a huge plus. But, I mean, outside of that, I'm just tweeting on LTE, baby, and, my phone doesn't have 2,000% battery, so I just got to conserve, maybe enjoy life a little bit, go have some fun outside.
Yes, enjoy the sun
rays.
There's
work to be done, U-20s to be written about. Look, I got to do it. I got to figure out a way.
Yes, listeners, you can follow Arman Kafai, get the best FC Dallas coverage in all of the land at Aman Kafai. Meanwhile, you got Jake Watroba up in Minnesota, enjoying his Minnesota Twins, but we're not doing any baseball talk here on the show. But Jake, I got, as a sports fan, how does it feel to have a winning team?
Yeah, well, this is Losersville up here, so a winning team is kind of nice every once in a while when it happens.
Especially with Minnesota, United doing really, really well.
Hey, they're fifth in the West. They've had two straight clean sheets in a row now at home. So that's positive. But, on a more somber note, I just want to say today marks, this being May 28th, the 3-year anniversary that Harambe was taken from us at the Cincinnati Zoo. So I just want to say rest in peace and prayers up for a real one.
Listeners, question of the day. What is better, Champions League final or the promotion playoff? And I think there's a legitimate debate to be had here. Fellas, I know we tuned in. We have yet to watch the Champions League final, but based on our previous watching history, the promotion playoff, in my eyes, is somewhat more intriguing. Now, listeners, give us your thoughts at Unc Sam Soccer Pod. Now, Jake, Champions League, probably the biggest trophy a club can win in all of world football, but the promotion playoff seems like it means more to the players, obviously to the board, to the ownership with the $200+ million payday they get from it. But it's the difference between saying, I play my football in the Premiership or I play my football in the Championship. There's a big difference.
I don't want to say there's more passion.
No, say it. Say it. There definitely is more passion.
It just seems like it means more, doesn't it?
100%.
Don't you feel that when you're watching that? I watched Charlton Athletic beat. God, who did they beat in the League One promotion playoff? Sunderland, and it just seemed like it meant so much more. And I don't know if I necessarily get that feeling when I watch Champions League.
I mean, but it does mean more, right? Because you have these guys who are playing, for the chance to play in a higher level. I mean, with especially the championship playoff, that's the $125, $200 million game with all like the fees and like the rights fees you get for moving up. These are life and death for some clubs sometimes, especially as the lower you go down the English football system. You're not sure if you're going to be paying the bills. I mean, that shouldn't be the case, but like Bolton Wanderers, they're struggling right now. They're in administration. You don't see those times like former glory, and it means a lot more, especially like for a team like Sunderland who went down from the Premier League to League One to have a chance to work their way up, and a team like Charlton to go find some former glory, or like Aston Villa and Derby. Like these all do mean more for these guys. So I think you guys are right. It does mean more. Maybe that's why you see a little bit more passion and firepower. But I mean, for quality of soccer, I mean, obviously I have to go Champions League. But if you're more a passion kind of guy, which we all know Steven is with national anthems.
Yes,
I would 100%. I would go to this promotion playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation to be had, just because the way the soccer calendar works out, where you do have these promotion playoffs. I mean, just look at what happened in Germany with Union Berlin. I mean, they literally tweeted out, "We are effing going up," or something to the likes of that. I mean, it just means the world to these clubs, to these players, to these fans. And you watch Champions League, and sometimes you just feel like it's They're already the best players. They already are going to probably end up playing in Champions League the following season. They get paid millions of dollars. It's a different atmosphere. And I wonder if U.S. soccer could take something away. And I think this is more. No. I'm not going there. But
don't do it.
This is the ironic part. You get paid. There's more money on the line when it comes to the promotion playoff. But don't you feel that apart from maybe the players, that from the fans' perspective, there's so much more at stake? Like, I think it's funny. We're talking about passion, yet the payday is so much bigger in the promotion playoff. It's just ironic. You would think the Champions League, the greatest tournament and the greatest trophy in club football, in all of this, in this world, there's less of a payoff. It's interesting. But listeners, speaking of promotion, I think this is one of the coolest things yet. Can we say a couple years ago now? I don't even know. But we gave out we did a contest. We gave a jersey out, and one of our listeners, Bryant, we'll give him a shout out. Follow him on Twitter at FauxShiz. Tweets at us, another year, another promotion for Tranmere Rovers. Can't thank Unc Sam Soccer Pod enough for introducing me to this wonderful club. Up with Tranmere. Guys, this is awesome. What a cool story this is.
Up the Rovers. Up the Tranmere.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Why not?
No, that is it is pretty cool. I mean, we gave him I think the time when he received that jersey or kit, whatever we want to call it, on this side of the Atlantic Ocean, I believe Tranmere was in the 5th tier of English soccer. Am I correct?
Yeah, I would think so. Yes.
They've won back-to-back promotions, so that would mean they're in League One they'll be in League One next year. So that would have to mean that they were in the 5th division 2 years ago.
Just a cool story.
It is a cool story.
It is. All those stories are cool, right? Like when you hear about like Swansea going up, or like a Bournemouth going up. All those stories are cool, and especially when it's a team that you kind of just got this random affiliation with. But like, it's awesome to see. You can see some sort of elevation of some sort. Unlike like you can't see your OKC Energy get promoted or anything like that. So it's pretty cool to see that. And shout out Brian for tweeting that out at us. You guys have a story like that. I think we've given away a couple of jerseys. Yes. Make sure you tweet us at Unc Sam Soccer Pod. We'd love to give you some shout outs.
And we got some cool stuff coming up. We're definitely going to do another jersey way this summer. And listeners, we will also be doing a U.S. Women's World Cup preview before the World Cup kicks off. So stay tuned for that. Follow us at Unc Sam Soccer Pod. Hit that subscribe button. But fellas, let's get to opening takes. And I'm going to hand off to Jake, because we had some news that broke on this Tuesday evening.
Yeah, right before we got on the mics here this evening, friend of the podcast, he's been on a couple different times, Sam Stayskoll, tweeted out that MLS and Liga MX are set to announce a new tourney. Now, we've kind of heard about this tournament over the last few weeks or a couple months that MLS and Liga MX were kicking around a tournament. But Sam Stayskoll has some more details this evening, May 28th. The league will be called the Leagues Cup. It'll be a single elimination tournament. All the matches will be held in the U.S. and the final maybe in Vegas. The quarterfinals will kick off on July 21st, which will include the Fire versus Cruz Azul, Houston Dynamo versus Club America, LA Galaxy versus Cholos, and Real Salt Lake against Tigres. Now, this is kind of interesting in that
interesting in the sense of what the hell does Chicago Fire, the Houston Dynamo, the Galaxy, and RSL have in common regarding MLS? I cannot find a single reason why those clubs are playing this tournament.
Right, and that leads me to my first question is, and maybe we'll understand this when more details emerge, but how did teams qualify, or why were these four, or I guess eight rather, for MLS, for Liga MX, why were these teams chosen?
I guess because Sam was throwing this out, saying they could have, large Hispanic populations or something along those lines.
Real Salt Lake?
Look, I'm just repeating what the source was saying, man. Don't look at me. I know my geography. I'm not sure if Salt Lake has...
Utah? What type of people are in Utah, Jake? Can you remind me? I don't know. I think this tournament is rather ridiculous. I don't like it. Not one single bit.
Let me ask you guys this. How does this benefit MLS?
I guess it gives them a platform to show off how they can beat Liga MX if they can.
Whoa! Time out there, Armand. You're giving way too much credit to MLS. This is Liga MX taking MLS and just sitting there going, you know what? You're just gonna take one more beating. This is MLS. This is a way for MLS to try to make more money, which they obviously will. Ticket sales. We know the Mexican. I mean, let's just face it. Mexico's the national team of the United States. You might as well say the Liga MX, apart from the Premier League, are the domestic leagues of America as well. I'm going to say it. Liga MX and the Premiership are America's domestic leagues.
I'll take it one step further. I think it's just Liga MX is the domestic league of the U.S.
Okay. Well, there you have it.
Plain
At
simple.
Uncle Sam Soccer Pod, at Steven Jodder, at Jake Watroba. But seriously, I think this is a way for MLS to try to make more money, and that's it. This is a way for them. I think coaches hate it because it's going to ruin their... You already are losing players internationally during the summer. Now you have to play this other tournament. What is the significance of winning this trophy? Maybe you get a little bit of a bump in cash revenue, sell some tickets. But you really think players overseas are going to be, oh man, you know what trophy I don't have on my checklist, Jake? Do you know what trophy, Armand, that I'm missing?
The Leagues Cup, bro.
The Leagues Cup, whatever it's called.
Doesn't this kind of feel like the International Champions Cup in a way for these clubs in Mexico?
I mean,
does this kind of feel like this is just a showcase? Just a showcase for America, or a showcase for Azul, or a showcase for Tigres?
I mean, it does feel like that. The question is, how are they going to provide value for this tournament, right? Because isn't the tournament of value that should be there, that should be more focused on, is the CONCACAF Champions League? That should be the tournament of value that's presented, which allows you access to play a Club World Cup or whatever it's going to be. But right now, what does the League Cup get you, right? Or whatever this thing is going to be called, Leagues Cup. What's it going to get you? Is it going to get you a spot in the CCL? It's going to get some Europa League and in CONCACAF? What is it going to give us? And if I'm an MLS coach, I'm going to be upset because I have an MLS game to win and the MLS Cup. So what's more important, this Leagues Cup or MLS Cup? And that's the question. You got to figure out a way to incentivize these guys to play, because if not, they're not going to play their strongest line. Why should they? They've been more important games to play for.
No, absolutely. I think, Armand, you hit it right on the nail. Coaches are going to hate this idea.
All right, one last question here before we move on. Is this paving the way for an eventual Super League between Liga MX and MLS?
No. I don't think you can. So sorry, Armand, I'm going to interrupt there. I think you still have to beat or find a way over the FIFA hurdle. They have very strict regulations on domestic leagues and what it means. Just pay attention with the Canadian League and the Canadian teams in MLS. On BWin Sports, they've talked about it before. They're curious to know if there will be a lawsuit or if FIFA will intervene or if there's going to be some sort of, grandfather rule that comes into place where these clubs are fine. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer when it comes to all the FIFA stuff, but I don't think it paves the way because I don't think you'll be successful enough.
I think it does pave a way. To be honest with you, quite opposite. I think that's the goal of MLS and Liga MX right now, to potentially line up together and make this giant Super League. Do I agree with it? No. Do I want to see it? No, but I think that's what's going through the minds of MLS executives, Liga MX executives, is how to make money, how can we capitalize? Because Liga MX wants to increase their footprint in America, and MLS wants to increase their footprint just all around. I think they're integrating themselves more. The Campeones Cup, happened last year. Is going to happen again this year. Between a champion of Liga MX and a champion of MLS. Look, I don't want to see it, but I think that's a goal. I think they're going to try it and see if it'll work. Hopefully, to be honest, I don't want to see it happening, but I mean, money talks.
Aren't the MLS teams going to be playing away games anyway? I know they're hosted in America, but they'll be on the road. There'll be more fans of whichever Mexican team it'll be. And Armand, I think this is a bad look for MLS. If they cast themselves as some great league or wannabe great league, shouldn't they just be great within the borders? Wouldn't it be better if they're just say, yes, we're MLS, this is our league, and focus on the Champions League if they want to have a rivalry with the Mexican leagues? Because when we talk about Champions League, you know what it means. You're talking about the best clubs in different parts of the country, different parts of the world competing together. The UEFA Champions League, people know what that is. Even non-soccer fans have come to the point where I've heard that today at work, hey, isn't there a big soccer game on Saturday? I'm like, sure is. What is it? Champions League final. People know what it is. This is going to create a pathway for MLS to never actually be this vision that the quote-unquote MLS or NFL owners want.
I don't get it, but I mean, like I said, whoever makes the money. I mean, I understand it from like in a money perspective, but from a strictly logistical, again, you have to incentivize a lot. You have a lot of money to incentivize coaches and players to be up for it. And by the way, the CBA is expiring this year, and you only have 4 chartered flights, but you're adding all these competitions for these guys. Sure, they won't lock out, but I have a feeling they're going to fight a little bit harder, especially with this new competition that they compete in now.
That'll be something to look forward to, whether or not a lockout will happen. And if it does happen, oh boy. Anyway, Armand, let's move on. Your opening thoughts here is surrounding the U-20 U.S. men's national team.
So the U-20 team has gone off to a 500 start, I guess. They had a loss against Ukraine, a 2-1 loss, and then a 2-0 victory over Nigeria on Monday. It was it's honestly really great and refreshing to see a nice, young, revitalized U-20 team. And, all the hype is around the U-20s. Yeah, like they're going to be this, that. I've already seen Alex Mendez and Paxton Poma call debates, which kind of really, like, why are you debating these two good players? Let's let them play and see what happens. But you guys have definitely seen some of the U-20. What are your thoughts on how they play? Personally, with me, I'm enjoying the way they're playing. I'm seeing some strengths, especially in the midfield between Mendez and Pomacall. But I'm also seeing some weaknesses as well. It seems like outside back continues to be a problem. Serginho Dest, I think he plays at Ajax or PSV, has been struggling up and on the pitch. Chris Durkin in the midfield hasn't been that great. Tim Weah in that first game was kind of and then they added Sebastian Soto in. as a forward, and he's more clinical and has made those bright runs and makes you a forward out there with ideas. Just wanted, I guess, starting with Jake, your thoughts on the U20 games and do these even matter, to be honest with you?
Armand, I want to interject one question, and that is whether or not the U20s give you hope for tomorrow.
For tomorrow as in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Because the players that are playing are this new class of U20 guys who are not collegiate players, but are professional players playing from 16, 17, 18 that are overseas. For example, I mean, look at that roster. You have Chris Richards, who's played Bayern, and you can see that he's gotten better within his last 6 months to a year with Bayern Munich, with how he's playing with the U20s. Alex Mendez, Freiburg, you can see that he has potential, the way he's bending balls, the way he's looking off opponents. Even Paxton Pomykal, who's finally getting playing time in MLS and has been a professional athlete for now almost 3 years, he's able to maneuver and be a lot better on the ball and increase his work rate. A lot of these guys are getting professional minutes or getting in a professional environment at a younger age, and it does give me hope because that college base and that gap is slowly kind of disappearing in my eyes in terms of, players that are collegiate players versus homegrown academy playing professional environments. But anyways, guys, your thoughts on the U20s?
Well, I've only watched the match against Nigeria, but one thing that stood out to me was, and you've touched on this a lot, Armand, was the play of Alex Mendez and Paxton Pomykal. I mean, it's clear and obvious they are, I don't want to say head and shoulders above everybody else, but they look the part, don't they? They look like they're the two stars of this team right now. Like you said in the first match, Timothy Weah didn't really make much of an impact there, but was a little bit more impressive in that second game with Sebastian Soto playing up top at forward. But it was clear and obvious to me watching the game against Nigeria. We always, at least for me, Nigeria always seems like, in terms of youth setup, they're always kind of one of the upper echelon teams when it comes to U17s, U20s. I believe they went pretty deep in the Olympics a few years ago. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, just look at their run at the 2018 World Cup. Everyone said this team's just one tournament too soon here. It's the next tournament that you should keep your eyes on, the Super Eagles. I think that's what they're nicknamed. But no, you're not wrong, Jake, that Nigeria... I mean,
they were... Sorry to cut you off here just real quick, just to finish my point. The U.S. kind of ran them off the field yesterday.
I was about to say, yeah, they did. They outplayed them.
And how often do we say that about a U.S. team that's not playing a team not named Guatemala or a team not named Haiti or Guyana, which we'll see here in a couple of weeks in the Gold Cup? How often do we say, the U.S. ran circles around that team? How often do we say that for a team that is of Nigeria stature? Now, granted, this is the U20s. This isn't the senior team. But I think, I'm not sitting here and telling you that these 18, 23, whatever players on this U23 or on this U20 team in 3 years will be all part of the senior team. But if you can pick off 4, 5, or 6 guys that 4 to 6 years from now are prominent mainstays in your national team setup, I think we can consider this cycle a success.
Let me ask you a question, because I think this U20 tournament will be judged in 5 to 6 years. I think we'll judge the success or failure in 5 to 6 years. Yeah, if they win it, great. That would be awesome. If they crash and burn, let's see how these players respond. Obviously, they responded. I mean, they lost to Ukraine, and I think people on Twitter were like, oh my God, here we go again. And it was almost borderline the most typical U.S. men's national team thing to do was to lose the opening game against Ukraine. And then they come back and win, and they put some back hope, and now it's like this mentality with the U.S. men, just regardless of age group, is always, regardless if they ran off Nigeria, off the field, regardless if they ran circles around Nigeria, it's kind of this gritty team with the U.S. For some reason, it just continues. But it's a determination 5 or 6 years whether or not these players will do something for the U.S. men's national team. But here's my question, guys: and Armand, this is particularly a question for you. Is the talent on this U-20 equal, better, less than the talent that the U.S. men's national team has with its young guys, specifically surrounding Pulisic, Adams, you name who else, McKinney a couple years ago? If you were to match them side by side at when they were 20 years old, will this talent of players outpace the talent that we're starting to see come to fruition and flourish with the senior team?
I don't know if they'll outpace them, but there's a reason why I've been constantly reading and constantly hearing that a lot of people want to acquire younger U.S. players because they think there's so much potential within them. Now, with the guys like McKinney, Pulisic, I don't know if you can compare compare them to those guys. I mean, maybe we should. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh, but I think those guys are like another tier relative to some of these guys.
Let me interrupt there, because what about like a Richards who goes to Bayern Munich? You talk about Pulisic developing Germany. Yes, he got the chance to go younger, but Sargent went at an early age. Like, now that we're seeing them go at a much younger age than previous years, can't we slowly start to at least compare and see how the talent of Pulisic, who is, $70 million man, and the man at Chelsea Football Club, like say a Richards who went from FC Dallas to Bayern Munich, who has been impressive, and it's starting to translate with the U20s, the knowledge that he's gaining at a Bayern Munich.
Oh, you'll see it. I think we will see it more in 2026 than we will in 2022, when these guys are entering their primes at 25, 26. Jake was saying, 4 to 6 guys make a success. I would say that's a pretty good number at around that 4. A lot of these guys are going younger. I think we will start slowly see that shift of talent, especially that younger base talent. I think we're going to start seeing more and more, but let's not discredit some of the MLS academies as well. I mean, as much as I say, hey, some MLS academies aren't doing it, I mean, the MLS academies have helped as well. I think this is the first time you're really seeing this new class of players that, have a nice mixture of the European experience versus also, the guys who started playing in MLS at like 16, 17 as well. I think if you're looking at the U.S. soccer, like, yes, and MLS, like, yes, it's homegrown is working really well. Our academies are looking pretty strong. I mean, just from how the U20 is playing, because, I mean, like Jake was saying, unlike other years, you're watching them play pretty fun soccer, right, Jake? Am I wrong? They're playing pretty fun, exciting soccer, and they're dictating play. They're combining in the middle. They're trying to play more aggressive. They're attacking exactly.
Team.
It's not being on the defensive and waiting for someone to bark. It was Ukraine who was built in a shape the U.S. tried to break down. Ukraine was built in defensive shape, and it wasn't the U.S. that was in that defensive shape. It was Ukraine, and the U.S. tried to break them down. And I hope it's this new era of excitement and attacking-minded soccer that Berhalter, Ramos, Jason Kreis, all these guys want to help bring in, because it's entertaining. It will inspire the youth to come play, and more importantly, it'll advance us as a nation in terms of soccer playing.
Jake, let me ask you a question asked Armand. Listeners, chime in at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod. Does this U20s give you hope for the future?
I mean, it has to. It has to. Look at the talent on the field. You have Chris Richards. He's playing at Bayern Munich. Alex Mendez. He's at Freiburg. You have Timothy Weah. He's at PSG. Was on loan at Celtic earlier this year. Paxton Pomiko looks like he's the next big export in MLS. Could be over in Europe in a year or two. I mean, how can this not get you excited? This is the first time I can think of, since I started paying attention to U.S. soccer, that we've had so many kids either playing in Europe or who have looked super promising in MLS. To me, I think 4 to 6 years from now, we're going to be looking back at this U20 World Cup and pointing to look at all these kids that were on that U20 team that are now cogs in the U.S. men's national team machine, because I think Armand stated in 2026 they'll win the World Cup or something crazy like that 6 months ago.
I definitely had them winning it in like 2022 or
I think
something
2022.
like that. I don't care with it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, well,
Just wait, Qatar, when they're celebrating, you guys make, damn, you called it. Just fine.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess based on your thought on what you said there, if we're gonna look back to this tournament, Jake, does it matter if they even get out of the group?
Yeah, you want to see them win, don't you? I mean, you want to see them go as deep as they can. Obviously, this is more so about development than the results, but you want to have, if you're developing a player, don't you want them to be battle tested in a tournament like the World Cup, the U-20 World Cup for that matter? Don't you want them to show some tenacity, some ability to go out there and grind out a result, get a win when it matters on foreign soil? Isn't that what you want to see? Isn't that kind of part of their development too?
No, absolutely. I think they have to get out of the group and maybe win a knockout game. And then after that...
I mean, here's the situation, guys. Sorry to interrupt you, Steven. If they make it to the round of 16 at this point, they'd be number 2, and they would finish and they would play the next round, France. France's youth team is obviously insane. So they might not be able to win it, but I think it's a great test for his U20 team, even if they only have 4 games.
Yeah, but getting out of the group is critical, and if they go up a tough challenge, and say it's a France, and then 4 to 5, 6 years from now, we say, oh, well, look at the players who are on the French team and how the French team's developing at the senior squad. It's a great test. I'm with Armand. I think they have to get out of the group. If they do get out of the group, the buzz on Twitter will be raging. It's like as if they had won an actual trophy or placed high. Listeners, make sure you give us a shout at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod on the Twitter machine. At Armand Kafai, get your FC Dallas coverage through him. At Jake Watroba for the hottest takes. And at Steven Joderand. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We'll have part 2, more conversation regarding the U.S. men's national team, Christian Pulisic, as well as Raheem Sterling saying he wants to play in MLS. What does that actually mean when players say they want to play in MLS? Is there something bigger going on there when players comment on that? And then lastly, our counterattack segment with Jake Watroba. Don't want to miss that. It's going to be a European one.